course, today is World Forest Day. And I would want us to take note of a couple of things. I think I just have about 10 minutes, so I'll be laying a background. My name is Lawrence Apotere. I'll be laying a background to what forest-based adaptation can look like and what role we can actually play in whatever perspective you are actually coming from, either as a student, as a researcher, or as a practitioner. How then do we fight for our forest? How then do we reclaim our forest? Can we just move on slide by slide? We can go to the first one now. Okay, so first off, I want you to recognize that world's forest has actually been depleted over time. And you can see here that the world has lost about 420 million hectares. And that is approximately 10.34% of its total forested area across the globe. Now, that is just in the last 30 years. Now, humans have been able to deplete forests by 10% in about 30 years. If we continue at this pace, what do you think would happen in the next 120 years? So for every 30 years, we deplete the forest by about 10%. So if we continue at this rate, what happens? And then we know that forest happens to be our oxygen bank for humans on the planet. And that is why it is important that we see forests as an important natural resource that do not just exist because it exists, but it exists so that we as humans can also exist. And that is the need for forest-based adaptation. And in light of climate change, we see that the world has actually come together to agree towards achieving less than 2 degrees Celsius of emissions. And to be able to achieve that, we need to mitigate against this effect. We need to bring down the amount of emissions. And you know from climate mitigation that one of the ways through which we can do this is by removing the existing emissions in the atmosphere through carbon sinks. And forests are very valuable resources in that regard. So I'll quickly jump on straight to what we understand, or what we should actually understand as forest-based adaptation. So you see here that forest-based adaptation is an aggregation of various climate actions that employ forests and trees in the support of climate change adaptation and resilience building. Now, take note of 7 things there. It encapsulates climate action. So any form of climate action that makes use of forests or that makes use of trees to promote or to support climate adaptation efforts is actually forest-based adaptation. Yeah, and it's also one thing that is used to be able to build resilience. Now, you say build a resilience against what? You can see underneath you have that it strengthens the adaptive capacity of forest to climate change. Now, in recent times, research has actually shown that with recent climate events, with extreme temperatures, with extreme precipitation and other activities that are related to the weather and climate, we've had a decline and a depletion of world's forests. Now, besides human interference. Now, if we need to strengthen our adaptive capacities, then we need to adapt forests also. And this is what forest-based adaptation will help us to achieve. And it would also help us to develop resilience against climate hazard. I would give an example. The reason why we see forests as important is not just because we think they are important. Forests would help you serve as windbreakers. Yeah, mangrove forests would protect coastal areas. Yeah, so for those that live around the coast who are susceptible to flooding and who are most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, for people in those areas, forests could be the natural resource they need to really preserve themselves, their lives, their livelihoods, and even their properties. So you can see how important that forest-based adaptation is. And lastly, it helps to maximize the benefits that come from forests and trees, which include foods, you have livelihoods, biodiversity, and climate regulation. One of the things is also the hydrological services that are made available through forest resources. And that is where emphasis should actually be placed on forest-based adaptation. So we look at some of the activities that are really related to forest-based adaptation. And one of it, which is key, is the sustainable forest management. Now, this is how best do we use forest such that it is available now and available also in the future. Now, you see that many a times we have laid so much emphasis on the need for us to protect the forest. But beyond just the protection of the forest, whereby you see that the global north will always reach out to the global south, and for us to have carbon stock whereby we can trade carbons and likes. Now, beyond just having carbon sinks, we can sustainably manage these forests such that they become a source of livelihood, and then we are still able to preserve them. They become source of employment even to the youth. They also become source of economic growth or socio-economic development, whereby these wood resources are not overexploited but are regulated such that they are used to generate reserves as much as they are used to generate funds and as much as they are used to create employment. Now, you can see that this way we are able to, beyond just protecting the forest, beyond just overlooking the fact that many a times people exploit forest resources, we are able to manage this forest sustainably. That is like one activity that you can engage in. Your focus could be just that you ensure the sustainable management of forest within your jurisdiction or within where you live to be able to achieve one of the adaptation goals. The next one, which is also important, actually has to do with forest conservation and restoration. In this case, what we are particular about is that we need to conserve the already existing forest from overexploitation and from the impacts of climate change. Yeah, conservation and restoration. Now, this might want to prick your interest into knowing how then do you conserve this forest. Now, forests have been made protected areas. Protected areas are guided by laws, they are guided by policies, and they are guided by personnel who at the same time stop people from infiltrating into those areas, monitor the growth of forests, and ensure that forests and trees within that location are well conserved. Now, restoration efforts is necessary when over time you notice that the amount of trees or the amount of forest, like I showed earlier, that the world's forest has depleted so well over time. Now, within the forest, for instance, depending on where you are staying, take, for example, the Congo forest, you're able to carry out a scientific research or you look through the literature to see how that this particular forest has degraded over time because obviously a lot of degradation is happening to our forests, both in the global north and the global south. So you're able to, through scientific research, identify the level of degradation that is occurring, then see the need for restoration. Therefore, your restoration activity would be channeled towards areas that are experiencing loss of existing forest. You see, many a times there are ongoing activities that are not built upon. And maybe I'll take the moment to emphasize the need for us to be able to connect science, policy, and practice. Because sometimes you have people just going all around and planting trees without particularly drafting a rationale for the tree planting activity or the reforestation or forestation activity. Yeah. So once you look through scientists, you're able to identify areas that need urgent attention, that needs, for example, to be restored, and then you can carry out restoration projects. Now, another aspect of it, or forest-related adaptation activities, would be reforestation. This is where you assume or you identify forests that are no longer forests, maybe because of certain changes that have occurred over time. Some of them would have become perhaps derived savannas and the likes, but it will take you to be able to reforest those kind of areas. Another strategy is natural regeneration, whereby all you need to do is you allow the location to fallow over time, where you restrict movement of animals, you restrict movement of humans, you restrict other agricultural activities on that particular surface, just so that you allow for natural regeneration. Another is afforestation. Now, because of the need for us to mitigate against the impacts of climate change, we need to establish forests within specific location. So all you need to do is identify the location. Perhaps you want to build a particular carbon stock to be able to mitigate as against a particular amount of emissions over time. Then you can delineate a particular region and choose to practice afforestation. In this case, all you want to do is you want to plant certain kind of trees, and you want to ensure that they grow to a particular level where they are able to serve as carbon sinks. Another strategy of adaptation using forest would be agroforestry, whereby you're combining both agricultural practices with forestry. In this case, you're growing forests such that it will help for soil, water, and nutrient conservation, and it will also be relevant for agricultural purposes within that particular surface of land or that particular area. Other one includes a silvopastoral system, actually, which is also related to agroforestry. And then maybe for the sake of time, we have urban tree management, whereby in recent times, to be able to mitigate against the effect of high temperatures, there is the need for you to include tree planting, even in urban planning. We have structures like gardens, we have green spaces, then you have shades, even in urban planning. Now, beyond the fact that they are relevant for carbon emissions reduction, they also help to cool or reduce atmospheric temperature. Yeah, so you could engage in any of these activities. So I would make you just highlight, it depends on how you want to go about your activity. You could have an existing natural forest. For natural forest, the strategies that I always recommended is either of conservation, protection, or restoration. Yeah, you're either conserving it for a specific purpose, or you're protecting it and you're enabling it to be a forest reserve, or you restore a depleted forest. Now, for managed forest, if you remember when I talked about having to sustainably manage forest, it is such that you are growing the forest not just to allow it exist, but to be able to rationally utilize forest resources to serve present needs, while also conserving it to also be able to serve future needs. Yeah. Now, one other strategy would be diversifying and adjusting tree species composition now to build resilience. For instance, if you stay around the coast where you are most susceptible or you're most vulnerable to climate hazards such as coastal flooding, yeah, you need to plant certain species of trees that would help to mitigate against this impact. Now, it is helping you build resilience against the impact of climate change. Now, these are like things we need to begin to think about as young people. We need to begin to look into our environments and see what forests already exist and how we can begin to channel our inner intuitiveness to be able to create solutions that are related to mitigating or adapting to the impacts of climate change. Then another one is also managing the increased risks from pests and disease or wildfires. So quickly jump into the next one, which happens to do with all of the benefits or the services that come from forest-based adaptation service. So when we are able to practice adaptation, when we are able to take all of those steps that I have identified, what are the benefits that come with it? What are the services that come as a result of sustainably managing forests? What are the benefits that comes from restoring forests? What are the benefits that comes from afforestation activities? You have, very importantly, the provision of forest goods. Now, there are some people who depends on wild fruits from the forest. They depend on wildlife from the forest. They depend on even animals from the forest, which serve different purposes. It would interest you to see or to know that some forest resources actually have medicinal importance. So you could be very specific in terms of perhaps your maybe advocacy or project implementation as you want to carry out different social impact projects related to climate adaptation within your region. It could be for specific purposes such as provision of certain forest goods. Yeah, one of the advantages you could have is, of course, reducing the impacts of climate change and ensuring a sustainable future. Now, this is much related to developing carbon sinks. Now, carbon sinks that helps you to reduce the amount of emissions. So you could actually engage on these particular kind of practices, either afforestation, reforestation, or the likes, just so that you are able to reduce the amount of emission by a specific percentage or by a specific metric ton. Once you're able to achieve it, that could be a set goal. These are like part of the services that you can achieve. Now, it is also interesting to know that I talked about agroforestry earlier on. Now, in terms of agroforestry, now forests would be important in helping to regulate water, soil, and other microclimates. Yeah. Now you have trees in combination with other agricultural products on the same piece. Now, while they are there, they help you to regulate the availability of water. They help you to preserve the soil. And they also help you to moderate the microclimate such that it is favorable enough for the kind of crops that are being grown at a particular location. So you see that there are a lot of services that come with forest-based adaptation. Another one actually has to do with watersheds. Yeah. Now, watersheds are very much important in forested areas where they reduce the impacts of climate change. They help to lower temperature and they help to build resilience against climatic hazards as they occur. Now, like I mentioned while I was explaining all of these things, it also protects coastal areas from climate-related threats. Like I talked about coastal flooding, particularly when you delve into mangrove foresting. Yeah, you plant mangroves to be able to protect areas that are lying just around the coast or areas that are within floodplains such that they are shielded from an increase in sea level or surges in the ocean and the likes of flood-related events. So one other thing I'll talk on, and I think maybe lastly, is that forest is actually important in urban planning. Why? It would help you to regulate temperature, to make available water for resilient cities. And if you look at all of these services, these are like reasons that we should consider when we begin to plan kind of activities. Perhaps some of us work with different organizations, some of us actually planning forest related projects. We've seen how that this is actually very important, not just for today, but also for the future. So as young persons, I would encourage us to really look at all of these services and see that we can really contribute to a sustainable planet where forests would serve as a major resource. So not just mitigate against climate change, but also help in the adaptation process. So I'd encourage us now, as the last slide reads, for us to act now. And if we would need to act now, we need to connect, like I have said, science to existing policies and then put them into practice. So you start by understanding what is happening in science. According to IPCC, what is the latest report? Yeah, of course, you know that there are reports that have been given already that we need to improve on our individual NDCs, our nationally determined contributions. And one part of it happens to do with agriculture and forest land use. Yeah, so we now need to begin to channel our actions to addressing existing policies. We need to channel our actions to addressing all of these services because, of course, there are policies that are existing. So all it will take for us to do is go to understanding the science, see what is happening in research, connect it to the existing policies, and see how through our adaptation work or through our climate advocacy and different other forms of climate action, we are able to address these challenges. So I would maybe just like to stop here, and in the course of this session, I'll be open to answering other questions. So I encourage everyone to act now. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. I think it was very helpful to know from somebody who has been an actor on ground and who knows so much about forestry and adaptation, both of the nexuses. I think that's what makes this exchange even more important. I think next we will have the video message from Augustine. They are the chair for IFSA. Let me see if you can hear this. You'll let me know if the audio is not audible.
Hello everyone, hope you are doing great in this event. I'm really sorry I couldn't meet you, but I have a really important meeting in Bonn in person, so I really hope that you guys enjoy this, and I would like to wish you a really happy International Day of Forests. As a brief introduction, my name is Agustín Rosselló, and I'm a Chilean forester. I'm based in Chile, but have traveled a little bit for different work issues. And right now I'm the International Forestry Students Association, IFSA, president for this term 2022-2023. A little bit of context maybe first. What is IFSA? IFSA is the largest international association for forestry and related fields. We have students from bachelor's, master's, PhDs, and also recently graduate students. This organization was established in the 1990s by motivated students, and they have been organizing events since 1973. So we are quite old, and we've been working for a long time. We are a global and growing movement, so we are a worldwide network of students and young researchers, mainly focused as an educational hub, so capacity building and also knowledge sharing within different regions and countries, and we are connecting across borders and cultures. Uh, our vision is really simple, and I hope you remember it. It's a world that appreciates forests. I like to add in their whole complexity, because we have been understanding since time passed that forests are more than wood. They also provide ecosystemic services. They are completely linked with the different cultures, social, and also food resources. Our mission is to enrich our members' education through international events, networking, and intercultural exchange. Um, how do we work? We have the local committees that are the basic pillars of IFSA. So these local committees are student groups based in a certain university. Till now, we have 134 in 62 countries. So this accounts for around 12,000 members around the world. IFSA is an NGO based in Germany, in Freiburg, but we work worldwide. We have present in every continent. Every year in IFSA we organize different events. For example, we have the International Forestry Student Symposium, which we celebrated the 50th anniversary last year in Chile. Then we have regional meetings, so in every continent we get together yearly. We have Southern Europe, Northern Europe, we have Northern America, Latin America, Northern Africa, Southern Africa, and Asia Pacific. Also, we have other unofficial meetings and exchange, like two universities getting together and sending different members to one another. And also we have delegations and other partner events, so we attend all the different processes. So UNFCCC, for example, in this case, Youngo, we are involved in different working groups, some of our members, and we also have accreditation with the Secretariat, so we take delegations every year, also to UN CBD COP, so in that case we work with GIBEN, with Global Youth Biodiversity Network, and also we have the focal point on UNCCD, so combat the desertification of the major group of children and youth. Maybe it's also good to add that we are the major group on children and youth for the UNFF, that it's the United Nations Forum on Forests. Our partners are really vary a lot, but mostly international organizations. So you can find, for example, CIFOR, EFI, FAO, the Forest Dialogue, Forest Europe, the Global Peatlands Initiative, ITTO, UNEP, IUFRO, IUCN. Many names that maybe wouldn't make much sound to you if you are not involved in the forestry sector, but these are the biggest organizations of international policy and international work on the forest sector. So we are really linked to the new successes that are coming. We have internship positions in these different organizations, and we try through this to develop the capacities and knowledge of our members. Also, we developed the Youth in Landscape initiative together with YPART, the Young Agricultural Professionals, and Youth for Nature, in which through this network we engage at the Global Landscapes Forum. What do we do mostly is, or one big project that I would like to remark is the development fund. Through this fund, we finance different projects and events that our members are doing at a local level. We believe that through our LCs, through our local committees, at the university level, we are going to be able to build more impact. So we try to get funds elsewhere and put it in the budget in a development fund through which we can develop these projects and help either people attend delegations, for example, to COP in Egypt, or to finance an event of environmental knowledge or knowledge sharing, or a webinar or a conference in Morocco, for example. This is the variety of stuff we do. We also have a tree learning platform in which we develop soft skills with our alumni and partners. We also develop forestry topics. And we really believe that the forestry sector has a huge role to play in this crisis that we are living. It is fundamental to work across the three different conferences of the parties of the Rio Agreement, so desertification, biodiversity, and climate. And forests play a big role in the three of them. If you ask me which are the biggest topics that are coming in the next years for forestry, is first of all achieving a sustainable forest management that makes sense for us to develop a bioeconomy. Through bioeconomy, we could be replacing plastics, for example, and other materials. And also wood construction, for example, is a big issue with the construction industry. So forestry could take a big role there. We also see urban forestry, for example. We can see researches that through shadow, we can bring 10 degrees down the temperature on cities. And last but not least, the capture of carbon. Forests are our biggest machine, in some sense, to absorb carbon right now. So we should put our focus on nature-based solution and use forests to absorb carbon, and find a mechanism like it is being developed on Article 3 of the Paris Agreement, for us to be able to, so Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, for us to be able to finance these nature-based solutions, or these ecosystemic services that forests are providing us. Once again, I'm really sorry I wasn't able to be there, but I will be meeting Forest Europe, as I was telling you before. But I really wish you an awesome discussion. I congratulate you all for sharing a little bit of your time and joining these great discussions. And I invite you all to follow us on the different social media. You can follow us on ipsa.net in Instagram, or just go into our website and you will be able to see all the opportunities, information, or how to develop a local committee, or if you already there is one in your university, you can also join that one. So the web is www.ipsa.net. Once again, thanks to Youngo and to the organizers for creating this amazing event. I wish you a really awesome International Day of Forests, and let's keep fighting for a world that appreciates forests. Ciao.
I will be sharing the links that Augustine talked about in the chat, so don't worry about that. Next, can we have Baltazar from Tanzania? They will be talking about Adapt for Our Future, Youth and Climate Change Adaptation. Please go ahead. Thank you so much.
Okay, hello, how are you? Thank you for this opportunity. I would like to appreciate all people who have already present. So, my name is Baltazari Ansetwati. I'm from Tanzania, and I'm an innovator, children's right and human right activist, environmental activist, computer expert, author, graphic designer, and the founder of various organizations such as the Changemakers Foundation, Tanzania Smile Safaris, Green Makers Solution Tanzania, and Africa Smart Start Academy, and others organizations which I found for my community. But today I will like to talk about Adapt for Our Future, Youth and Climate Change Adaptation. I'm not an expert of this topic, but I would like to talk as I wish to help my fellow youth to get knowledge about forest and adaptation. So introduction is climate change is one of the biggest challenges facing our planet today, and it's affecting everyone, especially the youth. And I would like to talk about youth because I'm a youth and I see the challenge of our community right now, and we are facing this problem because of the kind of things which is going on right now for our forestry, for our environment, and our future depends on our ability to adapt to those challenges and take action to mitigate their impact. So this is how youth will create their future. And for me, I have already taken action to take students from school and take them to the garden so that I will teach them how to have their own garden, how to plant trees, how to make a new future or new generation. And as you see, I try to show you importance of youth involvement, youth as a future leaders and the decision makers for our world. So we need to take a step to make decision for our future. Because right now, when we give elders to take decision or to make decision for our future, we will lost everything. So they bring fresh perspective, innovation idea, and energy to drive change. Through my organization, I used to give them a platform to make a different idea, to bring a different idea so that we develop and create a project so that we can help our community. And right now we have several projects which we have already starting to organize, starting to implement so that we can help ourselves. But also it's good to involve them in climate change adaptation efforts to ensure sustainable future generation to come, because we are the future. So we need to help ourselves. We need to help ourselves. We don't need to wait for someone to come and take us to the place which we don't want to go. So we want to show the direction for our life, for our future. And when we talk about the challenge facing youth in climate change adaptation, youth face unique challenge when it comes to climate change adaptation, including limit access to resource and decision-making power. This is where we're getting a problem to make decision for our better future, our environment. It's not easy, I used to stand and talk about the right of environment, right of forest. There is many people who are cutting down trees for no reason, for their own purpose, but there is no any youth right now who can stand and talk about the forest confidently. So this is a problem because we don't have power. So we want to make power for ourselves by creating a sustainable project so that will help us to show the direction, will give us a confidence to stand and fight with these people who are cutting down our trees. However, they also have strong desire to make different and the ability to drive change through activism, education, and innovation. And right now we have many youth who are taking a step to educate other youth to start their innovation, but also to create a good platform for others to speak out. But we don't have confidence. We lose confidence to stand and talk because we know if we try to talk, we can face challenge, even lost our life. This is happening in most African countries. I don't know for your country, but for our countries, it's a big problem if youth stand to talk about forestry. And for me, I have already taken a chance to start my innovation, which is Green Maker Solution Tanzania. And here I do plastic recycling. I innovate the machine, which is plastic shredder machine. So I shred a plastic, and this, as you see the plate. That was my first product. But after I have to have a sustainable project, I moved to create a solution for making plastic paving by using waste. And you see my workshop here. I'm working with my fellow students to develop this idea. And right now, I think I will soon start selling this product for people so that they can adapt. Why I do this? Because I want to go to develop this project so that I can help people to building their house without using forest. That's why I started the project. But the solution for youth involvement is to engage youth in climate change adaptation. We need to provide them with education and the resource to understand the issue of and take action. So if we want those youth to take action, we need to give them education. That's why I take them from school and take them to forestry, to the garden, so that I will give them awareness of how to develop ideas, how to keep our forestry safe. But we need to empower them by giving them a voice in decision-making process. This is a best way to give them, because I believe when we create good ambassadors, when we create good people who can speak out without fear and talk truth about forest, about protecting our land, our forestry, it will be a better solution for this condition right now. As we see, we don't have rain, people are suffering, we don't have food, and this is a problem because we're cutting down our trees. But also we need to support their initiatives and the project. But I used to meet many youth who have a good idea, a good project, but they don't have someone to support so that they can make a prototype, they can go to the market, they don't have people to push them. So we need to support them, but also we need to recognize and celebrate their contribution on achievement. Because when we congratulate them, when we recognize the achievements, their value for our community, they will be inspired and keep doing for our future. And this is a part of my events. I go to school, I talk to them, but I give them trees, we plant together, we talk, we discuss, we share ideas, and this is where I get matured people. I get people with a great ideas, a future to building a good generation to come. And in conclusion, adaptation for our future is a collective effort that require the involvement of everyone, especially the youth. When you see, if you see my presentation, I all talk about youth because I believe in youth. I believe the power of youth. If we want to change, we should empower youth so that they can see the future of our generation. By supporting and empower them, we can create a sustainable future for all, not only youth, but all of people who are living this world, so that we can live in a good, but also we can inspire people to plant tree every day, every time, so that we can have many trees, but also we have to fight for those people who are cutting down our trees. And this is a short explanation about what I know about forest and adaptation. So thank you so much. And I'm really sorry for my poor English, but I think all of you are, you all get what I was trying to explain to you. So thank you so much for this platform.
Well, Baltazari, I think your English was quite commendable. So thank you so much for the presentation. I hope everybody got as much information as I did.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we would have Neha Jain, and she would be talking about urban forestry and the role of youth in the same. Neha, would you like to take the floor again? Could you stop sharing, Baltazari? Sure, thank you. And to the participants, if you have any questions, please remember to put them in the chat, or you can stick around till the very end and we can have a Q&A live round. Over to you, Neha.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here. And the presentation so far has been so insightful. I'm from India, and today I'll be talking about urban forestry and role of youth action, as mentioned. So I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, it's visible now.
Awesome. So I would like to begin with what I'm doing currently and who I am. Is the next slide not visible? Sorry about that. Okay. Yes. So, as a young woman who is living in one of the most polluted cities of the world, with high air pollution, water contamination, as well as land pollution, which is a constant threat to health and risks biodiversity as well. I understand that we are standing face to face with climate change, and we are also aware about its worst impacts on women if we look at it from a gender perspective, whether it be impact of lack of access to water, on menstrual hygiene, or cases of violence and abuse recorded during climate disasters especially. And I strongly believe that educating youth and children from a holistic and intersectional point of view can really help us to achieve the solution. And this is the intersection that I work. You might be able to see through the presentation as well: gender, climate change, and education. I've been involved with various organizations, including UNICEF India, Save the Children, and the Climate Initiative, where I work on different aspects of this intersection, including having research, content creation, doing on-ground projects. I've been involved in several projects, including that of sustainable sanitary napkin project, or if you talk about sustainable livelihood for the young and the local artisans who create eco-friendly goods in their communities. So this is a little something about what I'm currently doing, but what is more important is why we are here and why urban forestry is something that is really important to be talked about. So as can already see that cities are responsible for around 75% of global carbon emissions, which makes them vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. But as much as they are vulnerable, it also puts them to the forefront for taking more action, for making more taking more steps for dealing with climate change. And urban trees and forests, they have been highlighted as a solution that can help to achieve the SDGs and make the cities resilient to the future impact of the larger populations. Why is it so important? Because forests in cities where it is full of hustle and bustle and so much of carbon emissions, factories, industrialization, urbanization, while all of this is there, forests are the reservoirs of helping us provide some of the oxygen, pure oxygen, maintaining temperatures, and also dealing with the impacts of the extreme events, weather extreme events or natural disasters that we have faced or we are going to face. And now I would like to, a lot of the technical aspects have been talked about before. So I would like to take you all through a story which I have experienced, a case example about the Central Ridge Reserve Forest, which is in Delhi. But before that, I would like you all, because it's an experiential training and an educational session. So I would like you all to take a moment and close your eyes. So once you've closed your eyes, think about forests. Think about the green, lush areas, trees, fallen twigs, leaves which are rustling. Think about the sunshine cutting right through the branches of trees. Think about the flowers, the soil, birds, all the animals coexisting in the same space and maintaining a balance of the ecology. And now, when you've thought about it, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes and share with all of us that how did you feel? It was a very small activity, about 20 to 30 seconds, but how did you feel? You can feel free to put it in the chat or unmute as well. whenever you feel comfortable, you can definitely share your experience. But as an individual, I really feel wholesome when I think about nature. It is the feeling that is really authentic and compelling as well. This feeling helps me to go each day and do something about the cause that I strongly feel about. And it is not only about the interest, but it has become the need of the hour. And it is so important to think about it. So hold on to that positive emotion. And with that, we will move on to the case example that I was talking about in order to understand that what makes anyone, whether it be a child, youth, or an elderly person, important for them to take an action towards environment. So while I was talking about Central Ridge Reserve Forest, so I have been working on a campaign and a project on this forest. It is an 864 acre, and they are rightly known as the green lungs of Delhi. And now this is the forest that is really close to my heart. And now I'm presenting an image. So I would like to know what all can you see when you see this image? What are the problems that you can identify in this image? Anyone from the audience? So while I reside near this forest, so this is the picture that I got to capture. And what are the challenges here? I'm so sorry about the screen share issue. Yes. So if we look at this picture, we can see certain major problems and challenges here. And while reading field and doing field visits, I got to understand that this is not just one challenge, but all of these challenges together, including garbage dumping, deforestation, open defecation, logging, threat to biodiversity, health concerns, and also it also promotes different kind of social crimes, for example stealing. And when you get to the depth of the field visit, you also understand that how is it affecting the residential community living here. But what is the main cause of all of these problems that are being caused in this forest? So that is when we identified that the damaged wall of the forest, which you saw right here, this is the main cause of the forest, which is leading to all of these challenges, whether being an inlet to all the garbage that is just being dumped, whether it be local people coming in and mishandling the forest for deforestation or open defecation, or whether you talk about biodiversity or animals like cows and dogs and cats entering and being exposed to all the risk of the non-biodegradable waste material. And now I would like to take you through the timeline of this forest. So I have been engaging in this forest since last year, and these are certain images that we found and how the state of the forest has remained just the same. You can see a lot of plastic here. You can find a lot of non-biodegradable materials apart from it. And you can also see that it is right in the main road of the city. This is again from last year, and there was another break in the forest due to an accident. So it's so vulnerable to all of those accidents as well. And this belongs to this year, and we can see that animals are entering through this large hole, large gap in the wall, and eating, and they are exposed to so much of risk through this gap in the break in the wall. So what I was trying to make you all see that the condition of the forest has remained the same despite of certain action. And now I'm going to talk about the solution. It is we often talk about technical details, but it is a very simple case study about a forest, a local forest, which has all of these challenges. And as local citizens, we've tried to apply a lot of solutions. And what were those solutions or actions towards fighting all of it? Number one, we had a lot of cleanup drives over here by our volunteer groups. We mobilized a lot of people in the residential areas across the city and brought together all of these citizen groups for the cleanups. Then we also had mail complaints to all of the authorities, followed by follow-up letters at different offices, and then also digital awareness initiative. I can also put the link of this video in the chat after the presentation, which was about creating awareness and also talking about how it's important to maintain the connect with the forest. But the action is still awaited. After all of these efforts, the government stakeholders have not yet taken any action, and it is a long process that we also understand. And now, what after this case study? But it seems hopeless or it seems pessimistic. But the part is that we have to be a part of the solution instead of being a part of the problem. And this is where here are mentioned some of the steps through which youth action, youth who is the future and the present of all the nations across the globe, here our intervention is extremely important. So firstly is capacity building, identifying and learning more about the key issues of our area. I already heard some of the successful stories from South Africa. Our guest speakers shared about how they have brought together technology, climate action together and made so many innovations. So this is something that we are all here for, learning, and we have to keep nurturing our connection with the nature. Second is about action, using the right tools. It is not about big actions, but also about the little steps that we do every day. And a part of the reflex, how can we make this climate action a part of the reflex action that we have towards situations and environments? And third is awareness, being persistent and spreading the word. It is so important that we all do whatever it is in our capacity and be change makers in our own rights. And with this very small story and action, I would like to encourage all of you to come together and be a part of this solution through capacity building, action, awareness, innovation, or by any tool that you think you are capable of using. Because you have the power, youth has the power, and we all have the power to make the difference and say no to the wrongs that are being done around us and say yes to what we want to do and be the change that we want to see in the world. So I would like to encourage all of you to act capacity, to act in your own capacity, because we all have the power. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Neha. And I think the call for action was the most important part that all our speakers try to, again, instill in us. So it's really awesome to hear from different parts of the world working in similar areas. And yeah, and if anybody has any more questions, they can either put it on the chat or we can take any comments from the audience as well. You can just raise your hands and that would be good. If anybody wants to share something, they can do so now. I have shared the links of everything on the chat. There are links to join the Youngo mailing list as well if you're not already a part of Youngo, and for the nature working group and for IFSA as well. If nobody has any questions, I think I have one question for Lawrence and Neha as well. Okay, I see Baltazari as well. Okay, cool. So from Lawrence and Baltazari, I would like to know, especially from Baltazari, because you mentioned that there are a lot of people who want to do things, but you lack support and you lack, again, the support from your national governments, etc. And that's very true for India as well in some cases, in some categories. So if either of the speakers would like to elaborate on their own journey and just talk to our attendees about the same, on how you started working in the field of forestry and what can we learn from your journey. I think that would be cool. Any of you can start.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, can you come again with the question?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you could share more about your journey, because one of the most important things is to also have the network to start and get the place to start, which most young people do not. Although they have good ideas, they are not able to start. So any more comments about anything that you would like to say to the participants who have an idea but just cannot get the resources, etc., or the support? Anything for them?
Idea, it's not easy. So let just me show you something, guys. Which when I have started. Okay. Okay. I hope you see my screen.
Yes, we can see.
Yeah. So this is how I start. So you can see some of the pictures. It's not easy. You have to fight. You start with the small things. You go, you grind alone. You keep your pocket money. So I start with the prototype by using a box. As you see, this is my first prototype for the machine. This is a motor, and this is a top machine. Then I fight, and this is my second idea of making
But sorry,
paving.
we cannot see the images. We can only see the folder. You probably would have to reshare.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So that's a problem. But what I was trying to explain, it's not easy to start an idea and make it come true. It's not easy. You have to believe in yourself, but also you need to make a time and have a passion of what you are going to do. But also you need to take responsibility for others. When you do something, you need to think about others people. You need to have humanity inside you to accomplish your dream. But if you are doing for the purpose of getting money, my friend, it's not easy, because there is not anyone who can come and support you until you succeed, until you mark a achievement. People, even government, even international organization, that is where they can come and take opportunity to help you. But when you are starting, first of all, you need to believe of yourself. You need to make money for yourself. You need to try to think about what I'm doing right now. It's a legacy I want to live in my community. I want to fix the problem in my community. And a good way to start fixing the problem in our community, we have to use a design thinking. How? We need to have empathy so that we can experience the same problem for our community. After we have empathy, we need to ideate the solution by giving a chance to community to give and like what they need to see for the problem to be solved. So if you use questionnaire, you go to the community and ask it how they get problem, how they need this problem to be solved. When you come and sit, you can get a good idea. But after you get ideate, after you ideate, you go to the second step, which is creating a prototype. And the good way to create a prototype, a simple prototype without using money, is to use the resource which surround you. As you see, for me, I start with a prototype by using boxes. I go to the dumpers, take a box and come to start my prototype, my first prototype by using box. After I finish, I go back to the community and ask for them. This is an idea which I want to help you guys to solve a problem of reducing plastic bottle to our community. And they said, this is good. Now I take an opportunity to go and find money to buy steel so that I can building a second prototype. And after I build that, I take it to the community and test it. After they approve, I invest money to building a good machine which is operating now. So this is how we can create a sustainable solution without investing money for nothing. But also, you know, we have our friends, we have our parent. Sometimes our parent will be an obstacle. They will not even be happy to see you. You are going to the dumpers, you are going to the community and take plastic bottles. They can say you are going crazy, but you need to focus. You need to show them what you are doing. It's more impactful by give an impact for community. But a good way also to achieve your dreams is to give others people to participate for your ideas. Don't be afraid to share your idea with others, because you said maybe if I share my idea with my friends, they will take it. No, for me, I believe Baltazari is Baltazari and someone else is someone else. You can't be me and I can't be you. So if you take my idea, I will be happy because you're duplicating my legacy for your community, and I will do perfect because it's mine. I'm the nature of the idea. So you can't even take from me all of my idea, but you are helping me to duplicate it in another area. So I would like to insist to you, my fellow youth, we need to think about our people. Don't think about yourself. Don't think about your brothers and sisters at your home place. No, you have to think big. You have to think for your country so that you can get opportunity to fight for your dream. For me, maybe I will talk a little bit about my background. I come from street, and from street, I managed to found various organizations, as you see. I have the Changemakers Foundation, which I work with children and youth. And I provide education for STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, practically. But I write several books, which is fighting with gender issue, but also I have Tanzania Smile Safaris. I do business here, but also I have bakeries, but also I have a football club, but also I have a big dream, which is to building a big school in Africa. This is my dream. So if you want to achieve, you need to have plan. And after you have plan, don't be afraid with anything. Everything is possible. Believe in yourself. For me, I believe in myself. Even if right now I have poor English, but I have confidence to stand and talk to anyone because I know what I'm talking. And if I understand you, I hope also you can understand me. So that is, and also I do charity even to help orphanage street children. So if you go to my account, my account of the organization account, you will see, you can just go on Instagram and check in Baltazar and Setwati or the Changemakers Foundation. You can see what I'm doing and you'll be inspired and wake up. It's you know, the problem of many youth right now, we are give up because of the situation we see. But we are the people who must bring changes in our communities. Yeah. But we can't bring these changes without take action. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Baltazari. I see that we have one question for Neha. It's by Jayesh Shah, and it's about local government is going to, how is local government going to fund the things that you were talking about in your presentation about Delhi? And the funding mechanism for in general urban forestry is their question. And do you have any other organization in mind who can help get this change in the cities for the urban forests? Any comments there, Neha?
Okay, so I'll answer this in two parts. First is about funding, and second about other platforms where we can connect with like-minded individuals and also appeal for financial or funding support. So firstly, with regard to local government, one thing that I have experienced is more than funding, we can look at collaboration in terms of policy and action by them. So instead of getting the funding for what I really believe in, that instead of seeking funding from the government support for the project, what my focus is right now is on making the change happen, that is getting the wall repaired. That is the actual cause of the issue. But apart from that, when I want to pursue it at a larger scale for all the other forests in Delhi, outside Delhi, across the country, or in different parts of world or anywhere. So definitely funding is required to spread awareness. So after your primary cause is met, so firstly, you should focus on the cause, that the substantial action that you want around you, and focus on making the change happen there. And after that, when you want to scale it up, funding is definitely required, for which there are different government schemes. I'm hoping that different countries do take out different schemes for providing ideas, funding. Apart from the government, you can also look at some private institutions, which is the second part of your question. For example, lately, we have different conferences and conclaves. So the starting point of where you can really begin with for real collaboration, where you can actually look at connecting with people, is going to local events, conferences, national level confluences that happen, where different stakeholders come together, from government to corporates to activists to people around. And that really helps. And with regard to the issue that I'm currently working on as well, recently there was an event that was National Youth Conclave, and there I got a lot of opportunities to connect with people who were working on urban forestry, and were happy to support and fund as well research along with the action being done in the forest, or beyond it as well. So a starting point is definitely to look at those events where you can collaborate with those people. And secondly, you should definitely try out mailing people and finding opportunities, and asking them if they would like to collaborate. Because one thing that we often underestimate ourselves, we do not ask for what we want. We tend to underestimates what our efforts or actions can do, or how much impact that they can create. So just be relentless, be shameless. If you want to approach anyone, even in the gathering out here, you can see that what aligns you the with your vision the best, and connect with those people. It takes a lot of effort and courage, but I'm sure that if you could reach out to those people, together you will be able to find more opportunities and avenues, not only for financial support, but also the technical expertise that you require for any project. Because at the end of the day, it's not only about accolades and being recognized, but actually making that policy change, or that real change happen on ground. So that will be a little suggestion from whatever limited experience I have.
Thank you so much, Neha. I think that's something we all might need to consider again, that there's no limit to our work, and there's no limit to, again, reaching out, because what's the worst that would happen? You would get rejection, that's all. If there are no more comments or questions to add, we might end the meeting. Yes,
Yeah.
Mohammed.
Hello.
A question. It's for both of you and anybody else who's interested in answering it. So basically, Altazari mentioned earlier the lack of confidence when speaking about the environmental issues and approaching people, as Neha mentioned. Do you guys have any advice about that, like do's and don'ts, the common mistakes people do when they approach people? Because I'm thinking about that, and I want to know like the best way to approach someone about if you like want to invite them to a campaign, or you want them to participate, or you want them to invest, no matter what, like you want them to participate in a form or another. I just want to know, like, what's your advice on that? That's it.
Hello, hello, presenter.
Hi, Jamiliro. Maybe we can have Baltasari answer the question and you can move after
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Thank you. Baltasari, would you like to answer the question raised?
Should I take that?
Yeah, you can take that as well. Sorry.
Okay, I can go after you. Please go ahead.
No, you can answer, please. Take a place.
Okay, sure. So some do's and don'ts that you talked about before reaching to people. Yes, that's a very important thing. Firstly, doing your own homework or work basically is very important before reaching out, because something that has really helped me is introspection and reflection on what I want to do, where I am at, where I want to go. Both the things play a very important role on whom I will be approaching or reaching out for collaboration or for any other proposal as well, because that will help me know that what is my vision and what exactly am I seeking from that person, and would that person would also be interested in providing any kind of mentorship or any kind of resources in that case. So doing your work, exploring, sometimes we get really impatient with the getting those accolades and recognition that we fail to explore first what is something that is really fascinating us or is extremely close to us. So I would say that and explore on. Am I audible? Yeah. So research and explore on what you want to do really. Second is then start volunteering, joining groups, events. You'll understand the depth of the issue or the cause that you want to work in. And after that, you'll be also, intuition is also one of the most important things when you're reaching out to people, because that also gives you an indication about how aligned you are. So that alignment is very important. So then play by your instinct and your vision, what you want to do and where you want to reach, and then reach out to people. It can be through LinkedIn, through mails, messages, whatever you feel is the best for you. And yeah, I think just after all of the research and all of the work that you've done, just take a leap of faith and trust your intuition. That is what I'll say.
Jamiliro, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah. Good evening, all. I'm called Samuel Jamuliro. I'm a Ugandan. I'm a lawyer by profession, and I'm also a PhD student of Case Mons International University of America in the US. I'm majoring in environment and climate change. Back in Uganda, I work with the Environment and Climate Change International, and my passion is in environment and climate in general. Now, I raised two issues in the chat room. One was the first one was, how do we create a group WhatsApp so that we can network further? Then the second one, as a PhD student in this area, how do I access these notes that are very important for me? Thank you.
Jamiliro, I shared the link to join the WhatsApp groups and the link to join other allied Youngo mailing list and mailing list groups as well. Maybe I can send them again. Other than that, if you need more resources for research, I think there are a lot of things that the working group will be introducing on the 28th of March. I think that would be beneficial to attend as well. And if there are some resources that the speakers would like to share, then they can be shared with me. And because I have your email IDs, I can share it there as well. So that shouldn't be a problem. Did you have any more questions? Okay, I think this is the end. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Thank you for our speakers. It was lovely having you guys here. And yeah, see you guys soon again. Bye.